Funny little white guy walks into an elevator and he looks up and he sees this absolutely huge big black man standing there next to him. The big guy sees the little guy staring up at him, so he bends down and he says to him, 7 feet, 350 pounds, 15-inch private area, and 2-pound testes. Turner Brown. The white guy faints immediately and he stumbles onto the floor. The big guy kneels down and he starts shaking the white guy, smacking him a couple of times. And he asks, "Hey buddy, what's wrong with you?" In a small, weak voice, the little white guy says, "What exactly did you just say to me?" And the big dude says, "I saw that you were curious looking at me, so I'd figure I'd give you answers to the questions that everyone always asks me. I'm 7 feet tall, I weigh 350 pounds, I have a 15-inch private area, my testes weigh about 2 pounds each, and my name is Turner Brown." The little white guy looks at him and he says, "Turner Brown? Oh, sweet Jesus, I thought you said turn around."
What you talking about, Willis?
Ah, the truth. It's the fantastic pill that everyone wants but can't seem to swallow. I come from an era where we didn't know that our parents got income tax money. They just came home one night with KFC. You ever notice that when people blow their noses, they look into the tissue to see what comes out? And then they make a yucky, ew kind of face? Like, what did they expect to come out? Diamonds?
You smell!
Speaking of absolutely remarkable and fantastic coincidences, did you know that the same people who were advocating, coercing, gaslighting, and propagandizing you to take an experimental poison are the same ones that are in the Einstein files?
Oh!
You know what's a real eye-opener is when you recognize and you realize who and how many people actually give a shit. Like for me, it feels like I'm always balancing giving a shit and not giving a shit, and then feeling a certain way about my decision. Like, what's the happy medium on how much is a healthy amount of shit to give? I mean, should I give 1 shit, 2 shit, 3 shits? Or maybe I should just give 4 good solid shits, mix in some smooth diarrhea for good measure. I don't know. But one thing is for certain, to give a shit or not give a shit will ultimately determine if you'll be going completely insane or just be heavily depressed like me. So I'm recommending not giving a shit at all. In my most recent bout of severe depression, I had time to reflect and to do some in-depth research about it, and I found out some very interesting facts. Like, do you know why severely depressed women provide the absolute best blowjobs? It's 'cause deep down inside, they don't care about breathing anymore.
What you talking about, Willis?
To put into perspective the type and the level of depression that I experience, let's pretend that my depression asked death over for dinner. Death would arrive and immediately start scoping out the place, looking for the nearest exit to make its escape. So after a very long waiting list, I finally got myself a psychological therapist that I see once a month now. But I'm careful not to be too honest that I get involuntarily hospitalized like Kanye. So she starts off my first ever session by asking me to tell her about what part of my morning routine takes the longest. And I tell her, finding the will to live. They say that exercising helps with endorphins and dopamine building, so my new therapist recommended it for me, and so I ended up joining a gym and hired myself a personal trainer who suggested that I eat nuts after every workout to help things along for me. After 2.5 weeks, he didn't see any real improvements. In fact, he said that I actually gained a few pounds, and he asked me if I was doing what he said about eating the nuts after every workout. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And then he asked me, so which ones are you eating? Walnuts, peanuts, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts? I said, no, none of those. I was eating donuts. I like to remind people that I do indeed recognize and realize that mental health is to be taken very seriously. And it probably affects millions of people, maybe even you or someone close to you. That's why I try and make light of it all. So please, always remember that if you're ever feeling extra super duper in the dumps depressed, just stop for a moment and recognize and realize that a suicide bomber's biggest fear is not exploding.
What you talking about, Willis?
True love is rare. That's why we have alcohol. I think that the plus sign in LGBTQ plus stands for pedophiles. A husband and wife went to divorce court. Judge, you both have 3 kids together. How do you plan on dividing them? The husband and the wife asked for a 15-minute recess so they can discuss a solution. They came back after 15 minutes and told the judge that they would come back next year with 1 more kid. 9 months later, they had twins. Boyfriend, quick, honey. Call the ambulance. I think I'm having a heart attack. Girlfriend, okay, quick. Tell me your password. Boyfriend, oh, it's okay. I feel better now. A man from Sweden decided to travel to the United States. So he's at the embassy applying for the visa interview. Officer, where in the United States are you going? Man, San Jose. Officer, it's pronounced San Jose. The J is pronounced as an H in the U.S. Man, okay. Officer, so how long do you plan to be in the U.S.? Man, from January to June, or maybe July. Why doesn't Viagra help with depression? Because it just makes things harder. For those of you who have any confusion about what gender they are, if there's no such thing as only 2 genders, then how come men and women compete separately in the chess championships? Why do baby diapers have such cute names like Loves and Huggies and Pampers, while undergarments for the elderly people are called Depends? 'Cause when babies crap their pants, people are still gonna love them and hug them and pamper them. But when old people crap their pants, it depends who's in the will. You ever notice that most movies that you watch are made and used to prepare society of what's coming down the pipe so we can accept it better and not be too shocked about it? Yeah. Movies like 1984, Children of Men, Contagion, Minority Report, Truman Show, Matrix, Her, Wag the Dog, Terminator, Gattaca, Enemy of the State, The Net, RoboCop, Back to the Future, Demolition Man, Cable Guy. Women are so dramatic, says the grown man having a complete crazy yelling fit meltdown like a 3-year-old because his baseball team couldn't score a single run with the bases loaded and nobody out. What do you want? You ever notice that nobody is busier than a person that's just not interested in you? Yeah, I gotta go close the fridge. I'll call you right back. I remember this one time back in 2024, I was so deep down and out depressed that I thought about starting my very own YouTube channel. You know, to help out all the other lonely and severely depressed people out there. I was gonna call it Lonely Fans, but instead I decided to call it Chanel 15.